Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is day 3 of our 5-day challenge to align your energy to manifest 20K. My name is Ahmadzai, and of course, you know I am your guide and your host through this next week. I am also the curator of the Queenly Entrepreneur Program, where we help women around the world clear their abundance blocks, amplify their manifestation, and tap into their most queenly form of leadership in life, business, and beyond. Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I am so overjoyed to bring this topic to you. It's my signature topic, emotional constipation, and what you need to know and what's blocking your cash flow. I know the last time we did this training, everyone was like, this is my absolute favorite. So thanks for joining. I want to encourage you to invite some friends, not only to the Mediocre to Magical Academy, but who needs to watch this training right now? Who do you know that is struggling with suppressed emotions and you know that they are feeling that block and they're looking for help and support? Invite them right now to this free training. If you need help, reach out to Katie or Kiara. Our team is here to support you, but let's get as many eyes on this training as possible because we are here to change lives. Yes. And what are your top takeaways from the past few trainings that we've had? We've had people already who have manifested money, manifested job opportunities, and we're getting all of these details in our inbox. And so thank you for sharing. Continue to do so, whether it's in our direct DMs or if it is in the group, because you are already elevating your frequency and you are aligning your mindset, your heart set, your soul set with abundance simply by tuning into these trainings. And we are so proud of you. So please share what has impacted you the most. And also feel free to share that online. You want to take a screenshot, you want to take a picture, share it on your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories. More people need access to this wisdom. So I want to mention a really important point because a lot of people will talk about $20,000, like whatever that income amount is that you want to attract into your space. They'll say, oh, I have a money block. I have a money block. Yes, that is very true. And that's what I support entrepreneurs with. But you know what the number one block is that people experience? An action block. And people think they have the money block, but guess what? It's that they're not taking the action to do what it takes in order to call that in. And so by you tuning in to this video, to all of these videos, watching the replays, if you aren't able to hop on live, by tuning into the homework threads and really journaling out the topics that we are sharing with you, by diving in, we as in me, myself, and I, guides and angels, as is being channeled, and in filling out that workbook, you are taking action. You are showing that you are committed and you are willing to do the work. Claim it. Because a lot of people, they are going to watch this training or any training in general, and they're like, oh, that was nice. No, this is about true integration. I want you to have your pen and your paper ready. You always got to stay hydrated. Again, my name is Ahmadzai, your clairvoyant success coach and manifestation mentor for high-performing female entrepreneurs, executives, and professionals around the world. I'm so happy that you are here and excited to see you back for session 3, which is all about emotional constipation and how it is blocking your cash flow. Can I get a drum roll? So one more thing I want to remind you is check your spam folder or check in your messages under your other folder. I know some of you have asked for the Queenly Entrepreneur playlist or for the workbook or for the Energy Protection Tools freebie. And if you are looking for any of those things, our team has very likely sent it to you. And if you're not seeing it in your Facebook DMs, I want you to scroll to the top, get really creative. We will have a post that shows you exactly what to do that'll be dropping in the Academy. So that way you can check that other folder and make sure that you're getting those communications with the team. So make sure that you are doing that. And I also want to remind you, part of that clearing the action block, right, in order to attract that money is we have our giveaway. For the giveaway, I'm going to be giving a signed copy away of my book collaboration, which is the She is Magic 2. In this chapter, I talk all about my manifestation tools and techniques that I use to manifest 20K, my husband, and I use these same tools consistently in my life to manifest all the things that I have. So signed copy of this book, you are going to get a 60-minute abundance activation call with me where we're going to dive into whatever it is that you need. Is it psychic healing, psychic reading? Is it business development, or even discovering what is your niche and what is your launch plan for the next 6 months or a year? Whatever it is, maybe it's just life coaching. I am here for you, and you get that 60-minute abundance activation call with me. And then we also have a scholarship to QE, the Queenly Entrepreneur Program, and $100 cash, baby. So take action in order to be considered and to participate in the giveaway. What you will need to do is, number one, watch live. I understand that not everybody is able to hop onto each of the trainings live, but what you can do is make sure you come back and give us a hashtag replay in the comments so we know that you are watching, and that will count as your participation. And also make sure you are participating in the homework thread as well, because that counts as an entry. And then, of course, if you want to share on your social media, every post that you do is an additional and extra entry in this giveaway. And who is ready to take some action for $100? Because one of you, you're going to just be posting and sharing with your friends, and that's going to get you $100. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let me know if you have any questions about that. And I want to remind you of our schedule. That way you know exactly what you need to do in order to catch up. The replays are going to be up until the 31st. So this coming Tuesday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, the replays will be up. But after that, everything comes down. So make sure that you do take the time to watch them. Set aside a certain amount of time, set a timer if you need to, in order to tune into these trainings. Make sure you're commenting, tuning into the homework threads, and also sharing with us, what are you experiencing? What manifestations are flowing into your space coincidentally right now, because you are upgrading your energy simply by watching, tuning in, and doing the work. Congratulations on being here. We are so proud of you. I'm going to start with a little story. I had a coach who told me, she's like, Ashley, you got to come up with your proprietary system. What is something that you do? And we got to put a little acronym to it. So I was like, okay, if I were to break it down, what I do, clairvoyant success coach, manifestation mentor, I specialize in clearing abundance blocks for entrepreneurs. And the top abundance blocks are suppressed emotions, trapped energies, limiting beliefs. There's like psychological addictions. They're all of these things, right? I'm like, okay, so what's my system? Well, if I break it down, the first thing that we do is we get clear. We get clear on where they're at, where the client is at, and where they want to go. And also know what do we want to clear. Once we know what we need to let go of, then we move on to step number 2, which is release. And once we know how to release the suppressed emotion and these blocks that are in our space, then we come up with an action plan. So that way we know exactly what to do moving forward in case it happens again. And once we've gotten clear, we've released it, we have an action plan, then finally we're going to protect. We want to know how to protect our space so that way we aren't going to be welcoming negative energy into our space. I was like, it's brilliant. And if you haven't caught on already, the acronym for my proprietary system is CRAP. And I was like, it's perfect. And I realized what it actually would spell out. And I was like, oh no, this is not what I want to be known for, speaking on stage, like Ashley and her crap formula. But with that being said, that is exactly what we are going to do today, is we are going to clear the crap and get very real about emotional constipation. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to understand what emotional constipation is, and it's going to be our inside joke moving forward, because you will know. We're going to also dive into understanding what is suppressed emotion specifically, what are the signs and symptoms if you have it, how it shows up in our life day to day and also in our business, and then what steps you can use to clear it. So again, pen and paper ready, because we are about to dive in. Tamara's like, yes, crap works. This crap works. It does. Okay, so what is emotional constipation? We're going to get real, my friends, as we have this conversation. What would happen if you were to just say, I'm not going to poop? Today I decided that I'm not going to. I'm just going to eat the food. I'm going to eat, and I'm not going to let anything out. What would happen? you would get constipated, right? And that leads to like significant health conditions later down the road. My background is in holistic health coaching, actually, which is why this is a convenient topic for me that I'm very well versed in. And so if you decide, I'm not going to poop, I'm not going to release, you're going to get constipated. And what happens is when we aren't letting anything that we are calling into our body and digesting, if we aren't letting it pass through from a digestive and holistic perspective, that food in this case ends up getting like putrefies and it ferments and it can rot and lead to toxins leaking into your bloodstream, and that will ultimately lead to illness. And so this is actually the exact same thing with emotions, where we might be feeling emotions and we're like, nope, I'm not going to cry because I'm strong. And then another thing happens and you're like, nope, I'm not going to get angry because I'm a lady and I don't want to do that. So what you're doing is becoming emotionally constipated. And it's just like a trash bag too, right? If you are throwing trash in there, it's not going to smell bad at first. It's going to be totally fine. But when it sits there for too long, it starts to smell. And that's the exact same thing that happens with your energy. When you get emotionally constipated, if you are not fully understanding the art of releasing and letting go of those emotions, whether they are yours that you are digesting and assimilating and letting them pass through, or whether they are from somebody else, a naysayer or something rude that you read online, if we aren't letting that pass through our system, you're going to have real stinky fermenting energy that when you walk around, you're going to be attracting stinky things and opportunities in your space, attracting stinky conversations. So I hope we are seeing the point here. We really want to focus on clearing the crap and clearing out that emotional constipation. And a lot of people, what they do is, again, they'll suck up the emotions and say, because we have been taught, especially as women, we don't want to be too dramatic or too emotional because sometimes we're too much for people. But what we really want to be mindful of is that our emotions are here for a reason. It's a way for our body to communicate with us, and we do not need to be ashamed of what shows up. However, what we can do is realize that there are safe and healthy ways for us to release that, and that's what we will be going over today. Another great reminder is that the frequency of emotion is translated into feelings that you can actually experience in your body. For example, goosebumps, right? You might hear something that someone says and you're like, ooh, that gave me goosebumps, or maybe even shakes. I know if I get really excited or if something is very true for me, I will start getting the shakes. And it is the frequency of emotion moving through my body, and I'm having this very like visceral somatic experience as it's pumping through. Or you might even experience your heart racing suddenly when you think about a certain person or when you get nervous, right? Those feelings will again manifest physically in your body and you will experience that. Let me know in the comments, have you experienced this? What are some ways that your body communicates with you? And do you feel that you have some emotional constipation or suppressed energy in your space? A great way to remember this is that emotions are energy in motion. And that is why we can feel it. And that is why it manifests physically within our tissues. Another great point is have you ever been driving in a car? Maybe you're even on a road trip, right? You were in the car for hours and you were looking straight ahead, paying attention to what's right in front of you. But then you happen to look over to the side, and the one time you look at somebody, they look right back at you and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how did I get caught? I don't even ever do this, but the one time I do, I get caught. The reason is because your thoughts have a vibration. They have a frequency. So when you're looking at someone and acknowledging them, that energy and that voltage, in a way, it's energy in motion, right? Someone else can feel it. And likewise, and if you've ever been in a room or with a big conference of people and then you lock eyes with a certain someone and maybe you even feel that zing in your heart, maybe because they're super handsome or beautiful, or maybe because you got caught. But that feeling of emotion, it's like, how did you lock eyes with that one person in a room filled with people? Again, that energy and motion, it travels. Like your thoughts, your energy, it has that frequency. And so it is very, very important to know that it has power and it does have a voltage. What you're putting out there into the world has voltage, and what you are allowing to stay stuck in your system is also very powerful, and it can lead to illness, which we'll talk about as well. Now we're going to talk about what are suppressed emotions. We understand that many of us are emotionally constipated unless we are consistently doing that work. And we also might sometimes have deep, deep wounds that are suppressed, and you're like, I'm doing my work, and then suddenly something comes up for review and you're like, oh, okay, time to pass that because we are done with it. So the importance of clearing out your system and why we're talking about it and doing this in the first place. Now let's talk about what are suppressed emotions, because there could be some confusion around this. Suppressed emotions, trapped energies, and basically these are emotions that you consciously or unconsciously avoid because you don't know what to do with them. So that can be grief, sadness, anxiety, guilt, shame, anger. It could be any of the range of emotions that you feel. And if we're happy, we're like, I'm happy, I'm going to dance or I'm going to sing. That's an emotion that we know what to do with it. We're going to do something fun. But something like shame, sometimes if we aren't taught the proper skills of what we can do to, again, digest and assimilate that, then it can be stuck and we'll just swallow it and it will get lodged within our system. So that is usually how a suppressed emotion becomes embedded in our experience. Also, suppressed emotions are things that are unresolved. So, for example, with grief can be one of the most difficult ones or emotions to navigate. And I always think of it as grief is love with nowhere to go. And so if you think about that, you have love that you want to give to someone, but if you feel, or an animal or whatever that is, but you feel if you aren't able to give it to them and like release it from your space and offer it to them in person, that it stays empty and I can't give it to them anymore. And then guess what? Like that love, it can be, for example, we'll take the garbage can example. It can be the most beautiful, luscious strawberry in the whole wide world. But if that being love, right? But if you put the strawberry in the trash can and you let it sit and sit and sit, it's still going to mold. It's the same thing with grief, for example. Like if that's unresolved love with nowhere to go, and by the way, if you feel that, you can always pray because they're always with us. That's a great way to let it flow. But it can also manifest into our heart and even lead to heart disease. That's a very real thing of people dying of a broken heart. And so if you have this unresolved emotion, suppressed emotion, it can be terminal in some cases. So we want to be very mindful of that. Another reminder is that you were born wild and free, like a little kid. You know who has so much confidence? Way more than I mean, kids deserve to be confident, but 2-year-olds. Presley is so confident. Like she went to when she went to preschool and then she was reciting her ABCs and she kept skipping some letters. And I'm like, no, honey, like here are the letters, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And she's like, that's what my teacher said. And she's right and you're wrong. I'm like, how do you get this confidence, right? Kids are born so wild and free and they're dancing around and they're naked and like, this is my butt and I'm the best artist and I'm the fastest runner and I can do anything in the whole wide world. This is you in your purest, most true form. And then what happens is life. And someone says, oh, you're too fat, or you're too loud, or you're too this, or you're not enough this. And suddenly these beliefs will trigger emotions within us. And rather than saying, oh, that's not true, or that might be true for you, but it's not true for me at 2 years old, we become inundated with these beliefs and with these emotions that become a part of who we are and what we believe about our identity. So, but remember, at the core, we were these pure, innocent, vibrant humans. And that's what we want to get back to. And that's the intention of clearing the emotional constipation, is to say, hey, I don't want to be blocked anymore by the trauma of our lineage, the trauma of this lifetime, the trauma and the fear of what might happen. I'm going to flush all of that out of my system, so that way I can be a clear channel for all that is meant to come and all of the abundance that is flowing my way. Because again, there's so much abundance out there for you. That $20,000 that you are calling in is available to you right now, but we aren't able to receive it if we are backed up. So suppressed emotions is just one of the most important areas and abundance blockers for us to make sure that we are flushing this out. Another thing to remember is that emotions buried alive never die. And that is very, very important to keep in mind, because if they are unresolved, and if we are, so maybe it's guilt, you feel guilt about something that you did, and rather than apologizing or admitting to it and letting that come out of your system, instead, if you are swallowing it and shoving it down into the deepest, darkest, spaces of your body, then those emotions buried alive never die, and your body always keeps score. And that's why it's very important for us to say, what are these emotions that I'm feeling right now that are coming through this frequency, the goosebumps, the shakes, the whatever it is? What's showing up for me? And let's look at it. Let's break it down and say, hey, I don't want this to be stuck in me anymore. I'm going to take it out. And I'm going to say, hey, what is it that you need? What is the lesson that I am ready to learn? Where did this come from in the first place? Gosh, is this mine? Is this somebody else's? Get really, really curious. So that way it's not going to be stuck in your system. And once you look at it, you're going to realize, oh, that wasn't even mine in the first place. I'm just going to take that out and toss it out the window, if you will. And this is going to give us that opportunity, going back to digestion, to assimilate the lessons, to digest the meaning of why this is in our place, our body in the first place, because nothing can be in our space without our permission. And so if you have suppressed emotion in your body, that is a clear sign that there's something within you that believed that to be true. There's something within you that allowed you to be a match for that in the first place. Going back to the example of a little kid, and a little kid doesn't know, 2-year-old doesn't know a lot of things about the world. So I remember my stepmother once told me, I looked at her, she would shave like the lower part of her leg, but she wouldn't shave her thigh. And I remember on a sunny day, she had shorts and like her blonde leg hairs were showing. And I was like, how come you don't shave above the knee? And she goes, oh, it's illegal, honey. And like kept talking with her friend. And so I don't remember how old I was. I was like 6 or something. And I was like, oh, it's against the law for women to shave above the knee. Like, I didn't know. I didn't have any other frame of reference. So it was a long time until I realized that actually was not against the law. Because our brains, when we're little, we're going to believe whatever comes into our space. So as far as emotions, buried alive, that they never die, you might have these belief systems or things that you were told. And then when you look at it later, you're like, wow, I was a match for that in the beginning and I believed it to be true. But now that I'm looking at it, it's actually not for me at all. And then you have that choice to bless and release it out of your system. But it is important to remember that these emotions they hold voltage, they have power. It's not something where you're just gonna sneeze and then everything's all better. Sometimes, not always, sometimes it does get to be that easy where you're like, I choose for you to be gone. Other times we will need to take that time, especially the deep, heavier ones like guilt and shame and regret and abandonment and rejection, those kinds of emotions. It will be safer for us and easier for us to assimilate and say, hey, where did this come from? And really look at it with that space of curiosity. Another thing is that suppressed emotions are something, it's an ongoing process. So once you have a success formula of what you can do and use to support you in clearing out that energy, you're going to feel so unstoppable and unafraid moving forward, knowing that you have the tools that you need to protect yourself and clear your space in any situation. Going back to the emotional constipation, you can't just say, I'm just going to poop once and that's it, right? Like we got to be consistent with it. So I'm excited to dive into these tools as well. So let me know in the comments, what is resonating with you most right now? What ahas are you experiencing? What suppressed emotions are you realizing? Oh my goodness, like I didn't even realize that was something that was stuck within me. So, I know I had mentioned about the somatic experience and how these emotions will manifest physically. Another example that actually opened me up to the entire idea of suppressed emotions was heartbreak. If you've ever had your heart broken, oh my gosh, it's so incredibly painful. It's like acid just leaking in your chest. Let me know, have you, ladies and gentlemen, have you felt that? It is excruciating. Or like when you're really embarrassed about something, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that, right? Specifically like the acid in the heart. Why do we feel that? My heart is not bleeding, but I'm having an actual response. And the reason is because that emotion, that energy and motion will land right in that space, and it'll kind of, in a way, ferment and putrefy and leak those toxins into the body, which feels like the acid in our chest. So I'm using medical metaphors and, spiritual, emotional terminology. So hopefully you're getting that balance right there. But I love, Katie asks, what emotions are you letting go of? And I see we have another friend saying that you're going through heartbreak right now, and especially as a parent. And so this training is going to be so important for you. And also, who do you know that is experiencing this as well? Love, thank you for sharing in the comments. And I'm like, yay, they're really loving this. Megan says, yes, suppressed emotions are my healing realm. I love them. And as a teacher, I used to work with children on this because kids don't know how to express their emotions. They really don't. They just cry. And then if parents, this is going to be another topic, if parents are like, oh, you're fine, get over it, suck it up, then that child can learn, oh, it's not safe for me to advocate for my needs, because when I do, I get shut down, rejection, abandonment, whatever that is. So that's how we learn, exactly as you were saying, Megan. They don't know how to do it. And that's why some of us are learning it as an adult, what we need to do. Okay, so now let's talk about how it blocks your flow. And we shared about heartbreak and how it can manifest physically into your tissues, and that can even lead to, people truly passing because of a broken heart, because it feels so painful and it can, grow to something even more intense. Another example is women. If you notice, we tend to have a lot of thyroid disorders. I mean, men do too, but if you think about this from an energetic perspective, say like a little girl, she's singing at the top of her lungs and having the best time, and then someone yells out the window and is like, be quiet, you're too loud, or stop, or you don't sound good. Suddenly that little girl with her voice, her chakra just so open and expressing, suddenly it's like, yeah, oh, it's not safe for me to express myself, and then we're told it's better to be seen and not heard, keep quiet because you're a lady, like keep it together. All of these things, when at our purest form, we want to express. And in this throat chakra, like it closes up, and that becomes the suppressed emotion can really end up closing that off. And you know what? It can manifest into thyroid disorders, which is why many women will experience that. Another example, of course, is the heart issues, lower back pain. If you tend to have consistent lower back pain, there are many, reasons for this, but from an energetic perspective, that tends to be a sign of money. Or if you're struggling with money, it will show up in the lower area of your back. And that's also kind of part near your lower chakras, which are like your safety, your security, your creativity, which we hold a lot of that responsibility when it comes to money. Am I being creative with what I'm going to call in? Am I going to be safe if I have this amount of money? So these lower chakras can be activated when we have the suppressed emotion around money, and maybe there's not enough, or will I be able to do XYZ. If you're struggling, that's where it will show up. Let me know if you were like, holy moly, this is blowing my mind. Additional examples are your shoulders. A lot of times when I do psychic healing on people, there's a lot that needs to go on right here. Sometimes it's a physical reason. They're, sitting at a desk or they're carrying heavy things. But energetically, if I see a lot of density right here in the shoulders, it's due to a feeling of carrying the weight on your shoulders. If you feel like you're carrying everything, you have the example of a monkey on your back or, carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. If you feel like you're taking on so much and you can barely breathe because it's just all right there, it's going to manifest physically up here in your body. And part of that is like above the heart, you care so much and you love so much. It's like that heart energy is like, I'm going to hold it up. No matter what I have to sacrifice, no matter what I have to do, I'm going to string myself out and be so freaking exhausted at the end of the day because I love all the people I'm supporting. Well, guess what? That can lead to weight on your shoulders. So again, let me know which of these are showing up for you in your body, and have you noticed any other places where you might have pain? There's so many of these, even like foot pain or leg pain, that can be a manifestation of emotions and energy that you might have a fear of moving forward in life, or maybe you feel like your legs are dense, or if there's pain in that space, it may be a concern of, I don't know what my next step is. Because when you're in pain, you don't want to move, right? And so these are just a few of the ways that energy can manifest physically in our system if we are constipated and not clearing those blocks. Okay, so we know how it blocks your flow. Now let's talk about signs and symptoms. Outside of physical symptoms, let's talk about more of the energy and mindset. You can tell if you have kinks in your energy and with your emotions with this little litmus test here. So one of the things is stress or paralysis. If you have stuck energy in your system and you're like, I don't know why, but I can't push through, or I just feel blocked. I feel stuck. I feel like I can't, emotionally constipated. Like, has anybody ever been constipated before? That's exactly how you feel. You're like, I feel like I need to unbutton my pants. Like, I don't feel comfortable. I feel frumpy. I feel gross. I don't want to go out. I just want to sleep and eat. And that's like it, right? It's because it is emotional constipation that can make us contribute to us feeling that stuck energy or that paralysis if I don't know what to do. So that's a huge sign of like, we need to do some work to clear it out, which we will go over in a little bit. Anxiety. Let me know in the comments. Have you struggled with anxiety, whether it's currently or in the past? I know that I feel like I could be an expert on anxiety because I have had it for so much of my life. And here's what I realized. Imagine that right here in the center of your chest, you have this metaphorical beehive, right? Now there's a little bee, which is a
I
represent.
have nothing on my calendar, if that's what you're asking.
That's okay. Thanks, Siri. But no, thank you. A metaphorical beehive, and imagine that you have a bee, which is a representation of an emotional sting. So somebody says, okay, here's an example. Presley's dad once told me, he's like, oh, I can see you've gained some weight. So I took that little bee, and rather than saying like, oh, hello, bee, why did you show up for me? Is this true or is this not? And just tossing it out into the free wind, I took it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to deal with that later. Maybe there was another comment from the person who was honking at you in the freeway. And rather than saying, you know what, I'm going to choose to bless and release him. He must have been having a bad day. I don't know what I did that upset him, but I hope that he has a great day. And letting it go, you're like, well, you know what? There's another day of traffic. So for example, you take all of these bees that you are putting inside of the beehive, and it's actually fine, right? Because you can't feel each of the bees in the space because they're safely in the beehive. But over time and with decades of trauma, also decades of little tiny bee stings that seem so minor that you're like, I'll swallow them, I'll put them away. Suddenly something happens, and maybe it's something minor. Like for me, if I'm late for something or I'm going to be late, that is just the right amount of frustration to tip over my beehive. And what happens? One at a time, those bees aren't so bad. But when everything like the whole thing tips over and all of the bees come out and it feels like they're stinging you all at the same time and you have anxiety and you're like, or like a panic attack and you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. You can't even describe what's happening because your body, it literally feels like a bunch of bees, for me, are stinging me from the inside. I'm like, where is this coming from? And it started to make more sense as someone who struggles with anxiety of, oh, something that seemed really small, that wasn't the bee that actually stung me. It was the event that tipped over the beehive of all of the suppressed emotion that I have been holding on to and not dealing with. And now I've been triggered enough to where all of them are coming out to play. They're not playing. It's awful if you have a panic attack or anxiety. So this is another sign that if you are experiencing this stress or experiencing this anxiety of, hey, we need to flush this out. Yes, I see people in here, they're like, I get a lot of anxiety when I overthink, so much anxiety. And it's crazy what it can do to our bodies. And yes, that it can definitely add up, which is why we want to be consistent as we clear. I mean, it doesn't have to be every day, but take an inventory at least once a week and say, hey, what is it that has been attracted to me? What is it that I've like swallowed or suppressed or held on into my system? And what am I ready to let go of? And also, what would it take for me to release this? Those are very, very important questions to ask to dive into anything. Is what would it take in order for me to release this? Or what would it take for me to understand the suppressed emotion? So that way, these little energy bees aren't going to come and sting you later at something that seems really, really small, but it'll turn out to be really big. So we talked about stress, huge symptom, anxiety. Another big symptom, creative blocks. We shared about that. ADHD. So again, there are many factors. We are multifaceted individuals, but I notice that when I am feeling most distracted and going here and there and here and there, my lens from which I'm seeing life and digesting my environment tends to be blurry. And if it's blurry, it's probably because I have some stuck energy floating around. And an example of that is I might be worried about, oh, did I check that email from the person I really need to get back to? I'm supposed to schedule an email podcast with, or did I pay that bill? Is it on auto pay? All of these thoughts that then turn into emotions, right? So for example, did I pay that bill? Did I put it on auto pay? That could turn into anxiety and fear, right? Emotion, suppressed. And so if we have these in our space and it's floating around in our head, rather than having a proper place and say like, hey, I have it on my to-do list. I put it on my external brain so I can keep track of what it is I need to do. That can lead to ADHD or ADD symptoms where we are doing this and this and this, and we just can't seem to concentrate. Guess what, sister? It is time for you to clear some suppressed energy and suppressed emotions and even thoughts that are in your space that really want to be free. Set them free. Set the bees free. Overthinking. That's another really great one. If you are overthinking something, part of that can be rooted in our safety and security. And we really want to make sure we cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And that's why we're thinking about it from all of the perspectives, which can lead to overthinking. However, if we are so caught up in our thoughts that we become detached from our knowing and our true intuition, then that becomes an abundance block. And if we're floating up here, then guess what? This energy is really taking up your brain space. Like these thoughts are taking up your brain space, and that overthinking and that worry, we got to clear it. So that way you get to be in your pure, true form and you don't even have to guess because the sign is right here in front of you versus all of this extra. So yes, set the bees free. Let me know which of these symptoms are you noticing for yourself. I have them all. So that's why I can talk about this and I know. Headaches can be another one. I notice for me, if I'm stressing too much or if I'm anticipating something too much to like an unhealthy degree, what will happen is it'll start to go in my brain or my space. Lots of other reasons for headaches, but I noticed that having suppressed energy is another one of them. And also if my clairvoyance, like if my third eye, like this chakra right here is a little bit like calcified, or if it gets a little bit cloudy, I'll also get a headache. And usually it will get cloudy because of some sort of suppressed emotion that will cover this space, and it makes my clairvoyance a little bit more challenging. because my body's trying to protect me. There's something I don't want to see. Sometimes an emotion will come over and say, hey, yeah, another story, another day, but it'll kind of cover and say, hey, you don't want to look at this right now until I process it. And then I'm in a healthy space to be able to tap back into that visualization again. Additionally, low motivation or confusion.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, am I saying her name a lot? What is going on? You are on silent, sis. There we go. She just wants to hang out with us. I'm glad I'm not alone on this side of the camera, I guess. But low motivation and confusion are additional signs of we've gotten out of touch with our knowing, and we may be caught up in a tornado of suppressed emotions that are blocking our clarity and our view and our sights. Yes, I see here, Tammy says headache, migraine, upset stomach. All of the upset stomach is another really great one too. Our energy in motion in our body, and it's a great sign for us to let it go. Even our cramps, again, there's so many different reasons that this can happen. It's like your body, it's your cycle. And we want to be really, really mindful of what emotion is backed up that we need to do the work with. Okay, so examples of how this shows up specifically in your business. I had mentioned about singing, right? You're singing like la la la. So it was like, oh my gosh, you're so horrible. Stop singing in the shower or outside or whatever that is. And then suddenly we get closed off and we feel really ashamed or embarrassed that we even shared our truth in the first place. Well, in our business or as a professional, that can show up if you believe that your voice isn't worthy, or that if you speak up that you will be shouted at, you will be have people say rude and negative things, then you're probably going to experience resistance when it comes to showing up online on a Facebook Live or an Instagram training or a story, because you have a suppressed emotion and belief that it is not safe for your voice to be heard, because when you do, A plus B, like this happens. And so we really want to rewire that and do the healing work. Dancing is another example. Like as kids, you're hanging out, you're doing your thing, you got your little jig, and someone's like, oh my gosh, you're too much, or like, stop. Like you're so dramatic. That kind of energy, it can make people feel like it's not safe, especially starting at a young age as a child. It's not safe to be yourself, because when you are yourself, so A plus B equals C, right? When you are yourself and you're dancing and having a good time, plus B, people are going to shame you and make you feel embarrassed and say you're not enough, you're not interesting, you're not fun, equals you're afraid again to show up online, but maybe you don't even trust your own creativity. Maybe you don't trust your own content. So you struggle to come up with what you want to share with people, and you kind of end up wanting to like copy other people because, well, theirs is better. And I really like what she said, but I don't really think that mine's very good. Okay, a 2-year-old thinks that they are the best at everything because they're truly in their purest form. But as an adult, if we have this wound and we have this suppressed emotion around it, you're going to see how it trickles into your business, profession, or whatever that looks like. Same thing with crying, right? Have you ever been told like, oh, stop, suck it up, don't be a sissy? Another belief in suppressed emotion around it's not safe for me to express myself. And maybe you want to share with the world, but the words feel stuck. Trapped energy, right? Because we have been taught to like suck up our tears and to stop and like stiffen your upper lip, whatever that means. We're taught to do these things. And so another example is feeling emotions. Again, get over it, stop, blah, blah, blah. And then we're taught, so we have that, then we're shamed. A plus B equals now you don't feel safe advocating for your needs. And if we don't feel safe advocating for our needs, we can walk around in life not speaking up for ourselves and feeling like we're getting walked over and taken advantage of all of the time. So this is really, really important to realize what patterns you have as an adult in this space, and what are the specific stuck emotions or beliefs and experiences that are in your body that you are finally ready to clear. Sometimes if we know what it is, then it's way easier to flush that out of your system. And you can identify that by saying, hey, what's my pattern? Where did this come from? What's the A plus B equals C? And then we can do the work from there. Love this in the comments. And Brianna says, I was singing and my brother sang too. And my father said, why are you trying to take something from your brother? There it is. Wow, thank you for sharing that, because it can be simple, something as simple as that, which that's not simple. That's actually a very, very complex cognitive programming that happened in that moment. But with it being said, you are just as worthy. You are just as much of a star performer, Bree. But then when someone positioned it, in this case, father positioned it that like you're taking it away from him, there can be this belief of it's not safe for me to be seen or heard or even witnessed, in fact, because that really goes to the men. Patriarchy, right? That goes to the men. But secondly, like it can lead to the question of like, why was I not accepted? Why am I not worthy? And this whole belief system too. And in order to keep yourself safe in the future, we're going to hold on to that belief because it protects us. So that way we don't put ourselves out there to be embarrassed again or to feel those feelings again. So are we seeing the cycle here? Because we got to do some massive reprogramming here. And again, nothing can be in your space without your permission. And when we are a child, we are sponges, but now you are an empowered adult and you get to take responsibility in charge and ownership of your energy, your mindset, your heart set, your soul set, which is why I've become so obsessed with the Queenly Entrepreneur brand. It's something that I came up with years ago. And I even started the Facebook group years ago and only had me and like my BFF in it because I was like, a true queen does not cower and say, oh, sorry, monsieur. No, a queen stands in her integrity and her power and her honor. And people feel safe being around her because she's so in her energy that it makes other people feel like they get to be that and stand in that space too. And so standing in that queenliness in your morals, your values, your everything, you become this beautiful beacon of light to people around the world. So I'm sharing that with you because as we process these emotions, as we identify them, as we honor them, as we flush them through, and we become this clean, clear channel to manifest even more abundance, you are healing lineages before, oh my gosh, and above. You are like changing the trajectory of our community consciousness on so many different levels. So again, thank you for being on here today. Thank you for doing the work and taking the notes and diving in and sharing your takeaways and testimonials, because we are here to do the deep work together. Love it. I see Rise Queen. I'm a queen. Yes, yes, yes. And amen to all of that. So let's talk about my favorite ways that you can clear. So go take away the crazy feelings that we might have, and we're not going to take them away. We're going to honor, digest, and assimilate them. So that way you can come into this calm space. Now I have so many tools to use for this, but these are some that I can share with you very quickly. And we have many more within the Queenly Entrepreneur program. So if you're curious, you're going to see full methodologies in there. But number one, I would say speak to a professional, because we are on a recorded line. So I need to say, I am not a doctor. I am not a registered therapist or credentialed therapist, none of those things, right? So I always want to say, see a professional with whatever it is that you are experiencing. And again, that is within your power. And it is really helpful because there are people who are trained in that field. Always an excellent tool. Secondly is a coach. I mean, a coach is always a great idea too. Hey, and there are many people around the world who are experts in their field who can support you. So if you are looking for some support, connect with Katie, Kiara, or myself. You can get right in my DMs and say, hey, Ash, I want to chat, and we can set something up. And I would love to support you. So know that that is a great way to help clear your energy, is being able to talk with someone who does validate you, understand where you're coming from, and can very quickly come up with a unique proprietary formula for you and exactly what you are going through based on your past experiences, traumas, behavior patterns, even your human design. I mean, it can go really, really deep in the one-on-one coaching field. But overall, additional tools that help with clearing suppressed emotions is the easiest is, of course, meditation, right? That is tried and true. Science has tested. If you are feeling all of the feelings, I want you, does not have to be an hour. Just sit, crisscross applesauce, or you can have your feet on the floor and just set your timer for 5 minutes. Maybe it's 6 minutes, whatever you want it to be. And all you have to do is just breathe and imagine that all of the emotions that are floating around in your space or a specific feeling that you might be experiencing. Actually, let's do it together, okay? You sit however feels comfortable for you. And call on that in-breath, call on all of the vibration, the high vibration of joy, peace, opportunity, luxury, abundance, financial prosperity, whatever it is, call that in. With the inhale, let it circulate like these golden swirls of light around any of the denser energy in your space. Maybe you're feeling it in your head. Maybe you're feeling it in your body. Swirl, swirl, swirl like a tornado. And then on the exhale, send it out the nearest or closest window. So we're going to inhale. We're going to use this beautiful golden light, fill your lungs all the way to the very top and the bottom, all four corners of your lungs, and feeling that beautiful light swirl, swirl, swirl around any of the energy that you want to get rid of. It's not yours. You're ready to release it in 3, 2, 1. Send it directly out the window. That is one of the easiest things that you can do, is a quick, simple meditation in minutes. Again, nothing can be in your space without your permission. So call on all of the opportunities of the universe and then say, hey, whatever's floating around, you don't even need to name it. If you don't want to, if you just want it out of your head, swirl, swirl, swirl. Maybe you do the first breath is around your head and your neck. Second is around your torso. The third breath is around your arms to clear that out. Maybe the fourth is around your midsection. And the last ones are going to be around your feet. You just give yourself this tornado bath of cleansing and saying, whatever that energy is that's distracting me and make me feel really confused, I'm going to have it be gone. And then boom, you start your workday or you start your office hours or whatever that is. So meditation, also grounding is a really great tool that I love. If you can, go outside, put your bare feet on the ground. And I love to imagine that our feet chakras. So you do have chakras on your feet. So if you want to imagine like these spinning vortexes of light, I see them as green. My feet chakras, I always see as green. You put them on the earth, imagine them opening. And then I love to, so your feet are on the ground. I love to envision this beautiful golden sun above. And it's filled with your unique frequency. And imagine that this sunshine comes right down through your crown chakra and melts all over your body. And everything the light touches, it turns to love and peace and bliss and joy. So as it's washing over your body, it's not only transmuting any of like the negative feelings, but it's rinsing it out all the way down. And you can have a grounding cord if you're sitting, which is the energetic tether from your root chakra. So right at the tip of your tailbone that goes into the earth. Energy protection tools training, if you would like that, drop it below. I know our team will get that link for you. So you can have a grounding cord. Or you can just have your feet on the ground and you have your feet chakras. You rinse out with that beautiful sunshine and just let it flush and rinse like it's a shower. Sometimes when you shower, you ever realize you sometimes don't even have to use soap? Like if you are camping or something, you just need to be in the water and you'll come out really clean. Okay, that's what I envision. You don't have to wash it all off and scrub and shave. No, like this power is so cosmic. Support from above is so knowing and divine and clean. It's going to flush everything out that you're ready to get rid of, especially if you set an intention. So my intention is to flush out guilt. Feet on the ground, chakras open, crown chakra awake. And then you clean it and you flush it all out and just let it go into the earth. Mama Gaia, Mother Earth, she loves to recycle. At one point I felt really bad, like, gosh, she has enough to deal with because we've been really messing with all the things on our planet. And then I realized, oh, she actually takes manure and that's fertilizer for her. So we're basically getting rid of our own manure and she's saying, hey, thanks, I'm here for it. So you can be clear and do amazing, good light work in the world. And she gets to turn that into all of the fertilizer for all the things that are needed. Beautiful. I love everybody in the comments. Thank you so much for your engagement today. So meditation, grounding, you can do that at any time, even in your house. I'll open up my feet chakras sometimes and set the intention for the energy to just flush right out, down through the floor, down deep into the earth. Breath work. there we can go really down the rabbit hole when it comes to breath work. But if you just look on YouTube at some breath work exercises, I'll be dropping and sharing some in the Queenly Entrepreneur program as well, that are more guided. But breath work is a beautiful way to calm the vagus nerve. I've heard it vagus nerve, which has a huge connection with our overall health as well as our stress. And so using breath work, it's a series of inhales and exhales that you can use to recirculate that energy and really, really get the voltage within the meridian systems flowing. And that is excellent for kind of flushing out any of the suppressed emotions. So I would say look it up online. Go on YouTube, see if you can find a great breath work meditation until I'm able to create one for you. Journaling is excellent. Maybe you are a writer and you just need to get your thoughts out on paper. It doesn't matter if it's legible. I had it happen this morning. A thought was halfway coming in and I couldn't fully see it. So I just took a pen on a scratch paper and I just started writing so I can see it. And I gave my thoughts and my emotions a way to be released rather than getting stuck in my head because I couldn't complete the sentence up here for some reason. I took it to the paper and let that flow out because we don't need it to be stuck in our system. And if we are supposed to, you'll get a very clear download of, hey, we're not ready to let this go yet. So journaling is excellent. You don't have to do it every single day at the same time. You can, that's a great habit. For me, I will journal usually when I need to. If I have a thought that's stuck or it's not completed yet, I'm like, whoa, I'm on a roll here. I'm going to make sure that I journal it out. Maybe you don't have pen and paper around. Maybe you're not even a person who really writes things. So what you can do is you can voice it out. I have so many times in my car, that's a great time for me to do my thinking. When I have emotions that show up or memories or something like that, I will go to my phone and just go to the recording section or the app, and I'll just push record and just talk. Because based on my human design, I am a projector and I am a verbal processor. So what I need to do in order to digest information is to talk about it, and then I will hear my own answers, or I'll hear how I frame something, and I'll be able to witness it from this outside perspective and say, oh, okay, that makes sense. And now I have a conclusion. So maybe that's how you work. And I would just say, if you have a feeling, if you're angry and you're mad, let it out. Share it in this voice message. You can delete it if you want to. If you have a BFF on Voxer, I know I have some amazing business besties that I share on Voxer, which is a walkie-talkie app. And I love the app because I can just vocalize, hey, this is what I'm struggling with today. And I'm open to your feedback on this. And then I'll sometimes re-listen to it and see, okay, well, what is my perspective? What would I do to support myself? So you can journal it out. You can voice note it out, but you don't want it stuck in your system. That's the whole point. No more emotional constipation. And then there's also art. This is a really creative way. Now, some people might do, they might be quilting, or they might do watercolors, or maybe you're even just taking a colored pencil and doing one of those mandala coloring books, or even just coloring with your kid or your niece or your nephew, whatever that is. Art is a really, really great way to help process emotions. I notice when I'm in a space of grieving or confusion, what I will do is pray and kind of having this conversation with the universe while I am coloring. And it doesn't matter what color or what it looks like, if you're in or outside of the lines, but really it's an additional way. If you're thinking about something, we're getting it out of our system by processing it while we move it through our hand and to the pencil and on the paper. And now we're actually seeing it in our external brain. So another amazing way to flush that out. I see some of you are like, I love coloring. Good. Why do you think kids do it? Because they are a clear freaking channel. Like, listen to them, watch them. They are so brilliant. They are attracted to things that naturally bring them joy. Same with painting. I see people love to paint in here. Additionally, music. Music is a really amazing way to process emotions. We talked yesterday about the importance of being mindful of the music that we are consuming and the media that we are consuming. But here's the beautiful thing about music is it doesn't ask silly questions. It doesn't pry. It doesn't judge you. And so if I'm in a space of grieving, for example, because that's usually when I really need to lean on these tools, I may listen to a song that is at a vibration and frequency that can match where I'm at. And this really helps me process certain emotions. So have you ever like listened to a random playlist and suddenly a song comes on and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just delicious. It's oozing with everything. You're like, it just understands me right now. And maybe it's the words or maybe it's just the beat. I mean, let me know in the comments. Have you had that? Because it happens to me all the time. I love listening to music. And the reason I'm forgetting the universal law right now, I think it is the universal law of vibration, which states that the energy in the room is going to rise up and match the highest frequency of, or the energy, the people in the room, their energy is going to match the person or the thing or experience that has the highest vibration and energy in the room. So an example of this, if you have a bunch of people who are really like bummed out and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like an Eeyore kind of day, but then somebody comes in with a jukebox and are those even around anymore? They come around with a music or something, and it's a really great dancing song. I can't even think of a great one right now. There's so many. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, I love that song. Like maybe it's the Macarena, right? Everybody knows the Macarena. It's something that everybody can dance to. Even if the vibration in the room was low, when that high vibrational music enters, everybody suddenly starts loosening up and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do the Cupid shuffle now. I'm going to do the Macarena. And they're like, come on, join us. And so that is the law of vibration. So when it comes to music, if you are in a lower space, for example, you might be stressed or worried, guilt, shame, any of those things, you might not be able to listen to a high vibe Beyonce song or Lady Gaga or something because it's so high up there. You're like, oh, it's just annoying to hear that positivity right now. In that case, you can listen to music. And I notice that I will match the frequency of the music, just laying there and listening and letting it do work as if it's a sound bath over me. I remember there was one song that it's in the playlist, not QE, it's in a different playlist because it's kind of sad. And I remember I was in the bathtub and I was feeling not depression, but this flat line experience with my emotions. And I couldn't figure out what it was. I heard this song. I must have listened to it like 20 times at least on replay in the bath. And while I was doing that, my energy was here. The song met me here. I went into this visualization of a past life that I had experienced, which made total and perfect sense as to why I have a fear of like trust is something I struggle with, as well, and trust of women, which is ironic because of what I do now, but trust of women and also drowning. And one of my past lives is that I was a witch in a past life and they put me in like a metal thing. It was like contraption. And I was turned in by people that I cared and trusted, like during the witch trials, during the whole time when everyone was like turning against everybody, each other. And they threw me in the water. And so I watched them. Like I watched the people who accused me of this. And now I'm trapped and claustrophobic. And I went in the water and I drowned. So it's a very, very profound trauma experience that throughout the years has stuck with me. And I have a lot of fear and anxiety because of that. So anyways, I'm bringing this up because the music helped me access that feeling and emotion that I needed to heal. So that way I could move past the suppressed emotion of fear with women and move past the suppressed emotion, fear of being in water and being in water with my eyes closed. That was another thing too. So it can work magic if you dive into it and see what that might look like for you, but be really mindful of the music that you are listening to. Also, move your body. This is really, really important. There is something called chakra dance, and it doesn't have to be anything super specific, but just go through your different chakras, listen to a playlist, and you're like, where do I feel this song? Ooh, I feel it in my heart. Okay, so you're just gonna dance for that song in your heart, and you're just gonna imagine focusing on this area and cleaning it out and flushing it out using your breath. Maybe the next song is like in your throat and in your head, and so you're gonna be moving your body and like flowing and sharing and cleansing any suppressed energy in that space. Maybe it's your hips. So being in that movement. Another thing, one of my favorite is screaming into a pillow. If you feel really angry or frustrated, it might sound crazy because we're a lady and we're not allowed to have these big emotions. F it all. It is like time for the rewilding of women. And so I would encourage you to, if you have these big emotions, especially ones that have a lot of voltage, where you want to scream or you want to yell, don't hold that in. Do not hold that in. Instead, take a pillow and scream into it. No one's really going to hear you. I mean, I've done it before multiple times, and it's like good. Ideally, make sure kids are at school and hubby's at work or whatever that is, or warn them, say, I'm just going to need a minute. Don't worry, I'm okay. But screaming into the pillow is something that so many of my clients have done, and 100% of the time they come back and they say it was 100% worth it. Scream into your pillow 3 times if you can. If you can do 4, I'm going to be impressed. But full inhale, gathering up all of the emotions that you're feeling, like wherever they are, and then just scream into a pillow really, really loud until you're out of breath. Again, let me know when you try it because you're going to feel amazing. And 3 times if you can. If you do a 4th, you need to come back to me because that is really, really impressive and I want to celebrate you. And then wrapping up here, because I know that we're at time, is of course there's inner child work, which is a deeper line of work that I also include in my programs and in my one-on-one because it can be very, very complex in that process. And then of course there's plant or animal medicines like combo, bufo, ayahuasca, psilocybin. Not that I'm supporting any of illegal things on here, but there is plant and animal medicines that can also help you very quickly move through emotions once you set that intention. So love everybody on here. I see that music is therapy. Tamara's 9-year-old is also an empath. And so here, let's answer this one real quick. I'm so afraid to give her bad energy that I think if I push it down, she won't feel it. But deep down, she knows that's crap. Oh yeah, kids are incredibly intuitive. Another reason why we need to end the pattern right now that women need to suppress their emotions. No, we are flipping the script. We are rewiring the narrative to say our emotions are safe. They are beautiful and they are wisdom within our body. It is your emotions are energy in motion and it just needs a proper place and space to go and release. So we need to end the pattern of like, oh, don't worry, darling, I'm fine. And instead we need to say, honey, mommy's actually not fine right now, but I'm doing the work actively to support my body and feeling better. Like that is a perspective that is truly going to change the next generation so they don't have to heal from the trauma like we did. Amen. Let me know in the comments if you love that, if that feels true for you. And wrapping up, today we reviewed what is emotional constipation, what are suppressed emotions, the signs and symptoms to know if you have it, how it shows up in your life and in your business, and of course, different ways that you can clear it. So sneak peek into tomorrow's training. It is the most important training. And so please show up for this one. This is abundance activation. It is critical for you to tie all of these trainings together. We also have a money manifestation Q&A on Friday. So it's going to keep going, but tomorrow is one of the most important ones. Abundance activation is actually the first phase of the Queenly Entrepreneur Program because it is so critical. It is a foundation to tie everything together. So with that, thank you so much for staying with us, for committing to yourself. I am so proud of you for clearing those action blocks and saying, I am ready to do the work today, and you're ready to get the results, the transformation, all the integrations today. I am so honored to be your coach, your support, your mentor. And of course, I am here for any questions. My team is going to drop the homework thread, which will be available for you. So make sure that you are commenting on the live. You are filling out that homework thread as well so we can include you in the giveaway. And I will see you tomorrow for our abundance activation training. So important, guys. Please make sure that you will be there. If you need a replay, I need you to message me ASAP so we can make sure that you get because I do not want you to miss the training. So with that, have an amazing day full of amazing things, and I will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific time right here in the group. Bye, everyone.